All right, episode 28. JJ's back with me today, man. How's it going?
Good. Just finishing up Christmas. How you doing, brother?
Good. I mean, yeah, Christmas was good and everything. My family's still going through some struggles and stuff, but the main family was together, so that's what matters, I guess, when your immediate family can at least show up.
Absolutely, man. Because I think a lot of people are going through a lot of hard times right now with, financially, the economy.
Well, dude, family drama is actually sad if you think about it.
It's very mentally draining. But yeah, actually, that's an understatement.
That having gone through it the way I have, and one thing that's weird is the step family dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen different step families really struggle to try to figure it out and to get along. And even in my own, like, we have struggled too for many years to try to make sense of it and make it work as a step family.
I think it's sad because people have to make it so much more difficult than it really is.
Yeah, I don't know. Everybody should learn to come together as one and not think of it as like your kid or my kid or, you're a family now when the parents get married. So you can't try to push that other, when I was younger, I always tried to push my stepdad away. It was just something that thought that I didn't want him around because I didn't have my own dad. So I didn't understand it.
Well, that's really awesome though because you admit that you were wrong on your part, for
sure.
doing that and you regret that.
I see the way I was as a teenager because I didn't understand parenthood or like what my dad did and stuff, It's really crazy.
Yeah.
Parents don't realize the impact that they have though. Even like the little choices and the things that they do, like the kids often see that stuff.
Oh, people underestimate kids. Kids see everything, man.
Right.
No matter how young. I mean, with it, that's why, in my opinion, whenever you have an argument or anything in front of your children or whatever, it's that is not the time or place. It's sad, and I actually just watched a thing the other day. Western society marriage is completely 100% different than people,
Yeah.
from like say the Middle East give as an example.
Yeah.
But is it that is that good or bad? I mean, like if they stick together no matter what, the kids are gonna see everything.
But don't the wives in some of those cultures even stick together through violence?
Oh yeah.
Through the violent relation. Yeah. See, that's where there has to be some sort of line drawn, though.
Oh yeah.
You can't have your kid being raised thinking that that's the appropriate way to handle something with your wife.
No.
So it is.
There's no happy medium, it seems like, with anything.
Well, not really with that, I don't know how to really go into it without saying with violence.
That's unacceptable, and I don't care what culture it is. You should, especially in front of the children.
I still think it's crazy how the sitcoms portray different things. Like I Love Lucy when Ricky spanks Lucy.
One of these days, that kind of is that what you're talking about?
Well, no, he actually will put her over his knee and spank her.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Episodes as like a punishment for not listening.
Yeah.
And that show came out in the 50s.
It's the 50s and 60s, I think. Yeah.
The sitcoms actually will show a lot of where we are in our times. And when I watch that and you see that, it's incredible that just, what is that, 70 years ago? That men were spanking their wives as punishment. And that was accepted.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that was on a sitcom, and they were even taking it as a joke back then.
Right, because she would, the next scene, she would always be like rubbing the side of her butt, like that hurt really bad, or like he really got me that time,
Right, and and nowadays, no, that's not gonna fly.
Exactly. Like things have changed so much from that more aggressive, like violent sort of way of punishing.
You can't even discipline your own children. Remember,
Right, 70 years ago you could spank your wife, and now you can't even spank
and your kids,
kid.
yeah.
So that's a huge.
And I this is what and this is my personal opinion is. I remember hearing this a guy I worked with when I used to work at the Chippewa courthouse when I was the maintenance custodian there.
Mm-hmm.
This guy who he said I never hit my kids. I may have spanked them like
Right.
once or twice. The way he said it is if a parent ever, disciplines their child, hitting or spanking them once or whatever, that was for them. Anything more than that, that was for me.
Yeah. There's psychological factors that are involved with that,
Oh, big time.
with the aggression and how many times you hit and things for sure.
Oh yeah, if you're grabbing tools and stuff like that, which I had friends who that's what their father did to them.
Yeah, I think kids have been hit with lots of different things as far as spanking goes.
A wooden spoon.
Probably crazy to think of some of the different things. I think one of the biggest ones is like the switch. Like, remember, I think a lot of people have said that one,
The switch.
like a switch, like a stick.
Oh yeah,
Call it a
yeah. Or you know what it used to be? I don't. My grandpa would actually tell me about this, and him and his brothers and everything. They would have to go pick the stick to get punished with. Can you imagine? Man, I'd pick the smallest one.
That would hurt the worst, though. You want surface area.
Yeah.
So the smallest one is going to really hurt. Get one that gets your whole butt, and then it won't even hurt.
But just going out to pick it is like psychological, like
Right, yeah.
and coming back, you got like this like flimsy stick. Nuh-uh, go back and get another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's you when it comes to discipline and everything like that, it's got to be the right discipline, and and it's all just to teach them so they don't make the same mistakes. And that goes for anybody who's like younger than me. Like I always try to tell when I see 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids, man, I try to give them the best advice I ever do, because one of the biggest things is I don't want anybody making the same mistakes I did.
Oh, for sure.
Man, I look back when I was young and dumb, man, nobody could tell me what to do.
Mm.
In your opinion, what's your biggest regret as a kid
Well,
when it came to your parents?
well, it'll probably be the same thing that my kids will go through, and kids for all these years have gone through, is not listening to your parents.
Yep, I couldn't agree more,
'Cause
man.
once you get a little bit older, you actually see what they're telling you is actually most of the time. I can't speak for all parents, but most parents, what they're telling you is in your best benefit.
Oh yeah,
It's not to hurt you. It's to try to help you to do better and make better choices and stay out of trouble. When I look at the times that my parents tried to stop me from going somewhere, doing something, it wasn't to hurt me at all. And then
No.
when you're a kid, you're like, you're ruining all my fun. You don't want me to have friends. You just want me to be home and do what you want me to do, blah, blah, all that crap. It's not true. They actually do want you to have friends, and they do want you to have a social life, but they don't want you to get in trouble while you're doing it and be around the wrong people.
yeah.
Like it would get influenced by my friends quite a bit when I was younger. And I know that I influenced others quite a bit too throughout different things. So looking at that, if you would listen to the adults' advice, you would probably make better choices.
Oh yeah. Yes. It makes
one,
me sick how much I look back and
one thing that about my mother is she has always been someone who's against drugs, and she never wanted to try it, never has wanted to try it, and I don't think ever will even come close to trying it. And and when she was younger, she was put in many positions where she could have, and she never did because she said, I knew nobody was coming to save me. Nobody was bailing me out if I got in trouble, so I can't make that decision. I have to say, no, I can't do that. I have to make a better choice. A lot of us didn't do that. We just did what we wanted to do. We wanted to feel good. We wanted to hang out. We wanted to whatever. And we didn't say, well, maybe nobody's coming to save me.
Yeah, I guess, and I totally understand where she's coming from because me being an only child and everything like that,
She wasn't an only child, though. She was just in a situation where the kids were on their own and nobody was going to come bail them out.
Yeah.
And it's just how it was. And she knew that. And I think that if we understand that younger, what your future actually is, like sitting at 30 in my mid 30s, I don't know what the heck I was thinking when I was 20, 21, 22. Like, what I was doing was not going to build me a future. It was just being foolish.
Living in the moment.
Right.
And you add addiction to that on top of that, man.
Exactly.
I want to talk about the epitome of living in the moment, addiction.
And then I never really tried to do what I wanted to do. So often I was doing, like, trying to get in careers other people are doing and jobs other people because they like it. And they're just like, try this, do that. I've tried a lot of things, but it wasn't until now that I'm in school again that I finally found what I want to do with my life and something that I can actually enjoy going forward doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why I have been, or not, like I was so lost for so long because I didn't know whether I was coming or going. I just had no direction really because I wasn't making decisions for my future in my head at all.
It's awesome, man. That's a huge thing. Is you're not living in the moment anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think we both are definitely not living in the moment anymore.
Right.
We're
It's hard to start focusing on your future, especially when life can change so fast.
Yeah.
You can put a lot of work into something and it can go away just like that. But those are the risks you have to be willing to take if you want to have anything.
Yes, and taking risks. And that whole I'm scared, what if I fail? Who gives a shit? Just try it. More than anything is regret is my biggest fear.
Yeah, and
regret not trying things. Like I fear no change anymore.
Yeah, and it truly is regret is really hard. And if you haven't really felt regret for some big decisions, you don't really want to because it is hard when you can't change that decision.
I try to say that to a lot younger, and that's why it's such therapy with this whole podcast and everything is
like opportunity.
We're giving. I know that it's so awesome that we're at the point now with this podcast is that there are people asking us for advice.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me feel so, and that's better than anything.
Yeah, it is really interesting when multiple people are reaching out and asking for advice, and so many people are on so many different doses and in such different places with recovery and addiction. There's a lot of fear out there.
And a lot of it is this one guy who I've been in a lot of contact with, a lot of podcasters, talking to other podcasts. And this account bro, that's his podcast name. He is so awesome, man. How recovery does not have to be 100% abstinence based. 12 steps, like why does it always have to be that first? You ever notice that?
Right.
Like it's like so many people it's like are so brainwashed as in this goes from whether you're in recovery, full-blown addiction, or you've never been an addict and you're trying to help your own family members or a friend. Why does it always have to be the abstinence based first, the 12 steps or I'm cutting you out of my life,
Yeah.
This is what he really brings up. Like, just look at statistics. What statistics are the best?
Do you think that that is where some of these stereotypes and things stem from
I
with
think so.
people? Is that everything is such the same?
Yeah.
The 12 steps, the abstinence, it's all like there's, like I was saying in 25, the perspectives need to start changing.
Yeah. Because statistically, they're not really like, if you look at the way, especially how dangerous like street drugs are, and that's another, you asked me who should I be talking about, especially with these trolls. uh that one person that had the audacity to say, hey, or that Suboxone and methadone is way worse than street drugs. I had to. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says or thinks, about the podcast or whatever, or me or anything. I could actually care less. But
Right.
for the sake of everybody, in recovery and anybody that's trying to get better, I had to check them on that.
Yeah, for sure.
And you saw what I said. I was like, you really, really, I could tell you're just a troll that hates life, that let's look at statistics. Okay. With, when it comes to methadone and Suboxone, let's compare that. And he says that street drugs are that Suboxone and methadone is way worse than street drugs. Okay. That's why every 7 seconds somebody's dying from street drugs.
Right.
Okay, buddy. Yeah.
People have to be more. A lot of people say things and they don't explain. They don't put context. They don't. Because I mean, one thing that we both are aware of is the withdrawal is heavier from like methadone.
Oh, it's
But it's also because you're
worst.
on it for a long time,
Yep.
and then you have to get off of it. You taper down. So as far as street drugs, you don't know what's in street drugs.
not at all.
When you're going to a program, you're taking a clean dose. You're not taking something that has some random chemical or whatever cutting agent that they're using in it at this time.
Fentanyl and Xanlazine.
Well, right. There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of dangerous things that people
It's
are using.
Nothing naturally good by any standard.
Right.
In fact, it's Russian roulette every time you try any street drug.
For sure. It is. So that's where you're
It's actually worse than Russian roulette, I think. It's like
not,
putting more than one bullet in the chamber.
Programs are damage control. Programs would not be damage control if it was worse than street drug.
What's the word? I just can't think about it right now.
I know what you're trying to think of, but it's not coming to me either.
We talk about it all the time. Harm reduction.
Yep. I was going to say it's another way to say damage control.
Yeah.
I know that.
I think the proper term is harm reduction. At least that's what I've heard in the medical books.
I've heard a couple counselors say damage control too, but
Yeah.
harm reduction sounds better and more professional.
Sounds better than collateral damage.
Well, yeah.
I think that's what, and seeing a lot of those, people say that Narcan should be illegal, and
some of the things that people are willing to say is very much misinformation, and they just say it to put stuff out there.
well,
I think some people purposely try to make people believe misinformation, though.
Yeah.
They want to put misinformation out in the community, and that doesn't make sense to me. Why do you want to try to hurt people in any way?
We are, when it comes to addiction, the odds are so not in our favor already.
Right.
So
people need to work together and try to help each other with proper information. Don't spread BS around where people might get hurt.
yeah, and this brings up a really good point too that I learned from. I keep shouting him out, man, because he knows what he's doing. Account Bro. That's his, recovery, and he takes care of. He even runs his own detox.
Right.
Doing the NAD therapy with all of that, he's awesome.
It is great when people are able to get involved and do more within the communities and stuff too.
Yeah.
One thing I want to bring up though is like how do you feel about, when you see these stereotyping where people are acting like what one addict does means all addicts do it? They're putting everybody in the same group.
It's it's I would they have that same belief if it when it comes to because and I've said this before on here I don't know how many times they can even look it up. The American Medical Association even says that addiction is a disease.
Right.
So yes, it is a disease.
Well, and the hardest thing though is that people with the whole stereotyping and putting everybody in group though, all of our between addiction and as an addict and in recovery, everybody's choices are actually quite different, even in how people choose to use, how people recover, how people
Yeah.
got into addiction. There's so many factors, and it's very frustrating when people just like, oh, you're all the same. One person does it. If you shoot up, they all shot up. They just put you all in that whole group of people, even though over half the people there probably never shot up one
I'm
time.
afraid of needles.
Probably just ate a couple pills. Not everybody gets addicted on the streets. A lot of people get addicted through the pharmacies, through their prescriptions.
That's 100%. That was me.
So it's to
Me and
just,
you, and I don't think I've ever like that. That was not our thing. I am very scared of needles. Like
no,
my-
I cannot do that.
I can't even. I've more than once. I've had friends that they do they donate plasma. That's an extra $900 I could have a month, but I can't do it. Like I passed out just seeing my friend give plasma.
See, I'm not afraid of needles, but the thought of putting something that directly into your bloodstream that
You
could
can't
go
take
right
out.
to your heart. Right, that's my fear. Like I don't even like, the thought of like a long-term slow release shot at the hospital, let alone pumping something into my veins from the street that could have anything cut into it.
Yeah.
That is something I just could not do.
I've had just bad experiences. The very few times ever I would be around people who would, shoot and everything like that, it just terrifies me.
See, but I think that
Personal
might be
experiences
part
is
of
just-
why they do lump people together, because a lot of times in addiction, even if you don't use a certain way, you do end up around others that will use in other ways.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean you're going to do it along with them that way.
yeah.
If you have your,
I've even
certain specific things you're not going to do. But I think that might be part of it too, is I think we've seen people do it and people don't like that you've been around it even.
Yeah. I've seen actually addicts judge other addicts like, well, I don't stick it in my
Right,
veins,
for
so I'm
sure.
so much better than you. It's like, well, either way, man, we're
And
all addicts.
it is interesting because a lot of the stereotypes are the same. It's the shooting up, your thieves, your liars. It's a lot of those same misconceptions that
Junkies.
everybody gets thrown in that same big group of
That's a
people.
nasty name too. Calling someone a junkie. Like if someone calls me that, dude, they're gonna, and especially if I just meet them and they find out that I'm, in recovery and everything, they call me a junkie or anything like that, they're gonna have a broken nose. I don't give a shit how big they are.
See, I'm trying hard to not. I'm trying to look at it from a more professional perspective and
Well,
not let
yes.
that aggression and the anger, because it is upsetting, but it's also there is ways to make people understand with words and education too.
Some
Like
people though you can't.
we're trying to take a more educational approach to things and not be like, because
Right,
for a
right.
long
I'm
time,
just saying, like,
I mean,
I'm gonna give them.
I totally
crash
understand,
course,
but it wasn't
like-
even but a couple years ago. I still would like more aggressively push my beliefs and my opinions out. You know what I mean? But now I'm more conservative in how I talk about things and how I try to share my beliefs.
Mhm. We've matured over the years. Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, that's why I always say, do your research.
Right. And that's a great line that everybody should live by almost,
Like, there's just so much misinformation, I think, is the worst. Like,
It
We
is.
are at a peak of it doesn't matter what subject it is, it's complete misinformation. Just all over the place.
Thank
Just all over.
good old social media.
And it's funny because TikTok is like it's got no filter, you know?
Mm,
So there is a lot of misinformation, but it also like Google, YouTube and everything like that, there's a lot of things like that they do censor, like fact checking on Facebook.
right.
Fact checker, the way I see it nowadays, if something's fact checked and taken down, that means to me it's true.
Interesting.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's because it's usually politically motivated.
Right. Yeah. Should start paying more attention to what is actually getting pulled down.
Yeah.
'Cause
And
I don't-
why is it being pulled down? And why
Right.
why is like Elon Musk so hated for having
Like I
freedom of
personally
speech?
don't ever have anything get taken down. I get weird little messages, but they're typically scam messages. I've never had a real warning for
No.
the community guidelines, and I have a one page like the golf page that's kind of funny that I post a lot of stuff on there. But another thing is, do you think that the stereotyping hinders the public's ability to empathize with addicts and recovery?
I think so. I think I'm a firm believer in interventions
Right.
are statistically horrible because you cannot force treatment.
Very true.
You can't. You can't. And like
But I think the thing with interventions is it's just to try to show you that you have loved ones and support around you if you're willing to make this leap. But I do understand that a lot of people don't make it through them first times when they're pushed into it.
right. Yeah, I didn't get it until I've had so much going on in my life and until I finally I understood that I'm 100% responsible for my own actions.
Right, right. When I went to recovery too, I was, at a point where I was finally ready myself. I knew it was something I had to do if I wanted to have any sort of future.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made that decision and got over that hurdle of getting into a program. It's a very scary, hard thing to do in the beginning.
Yeah.
Especially, you have to be willing to tell people around you it's going to be long term. These opioid programs especially are not an overnight thing. They're not 30 days, 60 days. It's going to be a couple years, probably minimum.
No, I'm like 8 months removed from methadone, and I'm still. But things are getting so much better. I'm actually getting a sleep study done, MRI. I'm seeing a neurologist. I'm seeing,
Right. It's awesome to do whatever you can to
I'm very
get
health
better
conscious
and
now.
heal.
I've
Right.
lost like a lot of weight.
Have you been how about has your cognitive ability been better? Can you think more clear?
Some days. Some days are better than others.
Right.
I could definitely still feel my brain healing. The insomnia has been just a killer, man. Just
Right. And
just horrible.
another thing along with what we were just discussing there in the program too, when the nurses and counselors stereotype and lump people together and treat us like we don't have our time isn't valuable and we don't have anywhere to be afterwards.
Yeah.
The things
My really good buddy. I had to take him to the clinic every day, and he has to be to work at 8:00 every day.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go there 45 minutes before he even goes to work. They don't care. They don't understand.
And he's still late probably some days.
Yeah, they just don't care.
Well, ever since some of the things
And it's almost like it doesn't even click
right
in the staff's mind that
these
we
are
have
humans
lives outside of the place.
Exactly. That is exactly how it is. It's like
They're like
you are such a number to
reptilian
them.
thinking almost to them.
Well, you're just such a number. They really treat it like you don't have anything going on outside of recovery. Like that's your only thing, and if you have something going on, too bad. You'll get to that when you get to that.
Yep.
And some of the things I've even heard the nurses say really shows that there is very big lack of empathy and caring for people in recovery's time and
It's,
and being
it's
there.
a business first,
Right.
no doubt.
You know,
Because
and
if it wasn't for the insurance or the self pay, they don't give a shit.
and I wonder too if I had one nurse one time. This was actually a couple years ago that she said this. It was a nurse that's no longer at the program here in Eau Claire, but she said, "I can't believe the people who have lied to me here that I never thought would lie to me." And I wonder if stuff like that was kind of what makes people start to become in that mindset of you're all the same.
Well, I wish they would understand addiction more. At the peak of my addiction, I could lie to myself and believe my own bullshit.
Well, and
Like, how
that's
many
what
times did you ever say, well, I'm going to use today, but tomorrow may be different? I mean,
so
seriously, think about
it
that.
wasn't until I was deciding that I wanted to stop that started happening a little before I went to a program. But yeah,
You
I
know what I'm talking
totally.
about, though? Like, you can convince
Mm,
yourself that, like,
that's because time is weird. When you're in the moment, it's not that hard. But then when that next day comes, you have to try to get through it again. That first moment, you're like, I can get through this. It's all good because you have this mindset. You're almost looking through like rose colored glasses in a way because you
oh,
have the
totally.
substance. You're going to do it. You have it and you're going to feel good. You're going to have that euphoria. So you're talking yourself into it. That's what it is.
Yeah. And you can talk yourself out of it. When you start planning to use, whether you're like, even this is the way I see it now, even being in recovery, if I start, the most dangerous thing ever is if I start really listening to my first thoughts. My first thought is always wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
Even
I can't.
now, you're still struggling with that.
Oh yeah, I
Like,
can't trust myself to go with my first thought. Like, oh, Justin, you've worked so hard. You deserve this. You know we have that that disease. I call it a demon
yeah.
more than anything because like I can't listen to it.
And that's where in my opinion, you have to get to a point where you just no longer want to have drugs around you or in your life.
Yeah.
You have to get to a point to where when you think of using and you think about a substance, you're like, no, I don't want that around me. It's going to be really hard and you're going to have those cravings, but
And cutting people
you
out of your life
can
too.
get to a point where you no longer want anything to do with it and discipline yourself to be able to stop and no, not doing it. When you go to do it, you stop yourself. You're not going to do that today. You're going to call somebody, you're going to do something else, and you're not going to use a substance anymore. Like, I believe that you can get there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I at work the other day. It's some of the last people you would ever think would get clean are today like 3 years sober, and they're not only sober, they are flourishing.
Right.
And I don't. That is your addiction. Who I don't care how deep you are in your addiction, how hopeless you feel. Like I have no idea. That's where I believe my higher power. I actually went to a AA meeting yesterday on Christmas.
Nice, man.
A friend of mine who I hadn't seen in years, I just recently started talking to him. He got me to go to a meeting with him, and it was so awesome, man. It felt
Right.
so good. It was just awesome. You just got to be so proactive in
That's it.
not trusting your disease.
Exactly.
I'm
And
not.
you have
I don't
to stay
trust.
proactive.
Yeah.
That is 100% it. You cannot stop. You can't say I'm going to use. You can't give into it at all. You have to keep that away from you.
No.
Know that it can't be done. You will fall back if you even give in a little bit.
Yeah. I know 100%. You know, and I'm far from perfect, but I know. I have no idea. I know it's my higher power where I am today in my recovery. You know,
Right.
I have a great job. I have people in my life that are I just my gratitude is very high today.
That's what I'm
Gratitude
really
levels.
getting to as well. Being very thankful for the opportunities I have currently and the people around me
Yeah.
and what I have currently knowing that the future looks good. You're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna be using a substance and completely tearing your life apart and
Yeah.
making bad choices.
Because I know, like, say I were to start taking painkillers again, I already know within weeks everything in my life would be done for.
Oh, for sure, me too. There's no way that I no.
There's no little bit.
If you're gonna do it now, if I was gonna do it now, I'd have to be willing to give up everything I have right now,
Nope.
pretty much.
Yeah, I might as well just sign it all. I might as well just throw everything from the last 8 months,
The
the
only
progress.
thing that I might have is my vehicle. That might
Yo,
literally probably
you
the
might
only
pawn
thing,
that off.
right? Might be the only thing I would end up with at the end of it. Like,
Yeah.
no, can't go down that road. But I think that people's encounters with people like in addiction kind of weigh on their feelings in the stereotypical way people are too. Because when you run into somebody in the streets, they're not usually in a good spot. They're usually in addiction and maybe homeless, looking for little substance or something. They might be dirty. You're not seeing people in their best light. So now you run into them. Now this is your reality for these people. This is what you think addiction actually looks like for everybody.
Or I looked, or how I thought I didn't look that bad. When I look at pictures from myself from like years ago, I was like, I looked clean and everything like that, but I can see it in my
Mhm.
eyes. I was in
Yeah.
a horrible.
Yeah, I can see it in my face too. It's weird how you think that you look fine, but other people are like, yo, something's going on with that guy.
Yup. Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, it is really challenging for people though to understand how different we all are, even in
Oh,
addiction though. Like,
I kind of gave up that whole trying to explain addiction to somebody who just does not have it, and they already their mindset is just it's 100% choice. You're a junkie, it's you
oh,
got to grow up, grow a set of pair, and
right,
just
right.
I'm not even gonna argue with that person. That's like arguing with the wall.
Mm-hmm.
You actually probably get a lot farther with the wall than you will
Yeah.
with somebody who's got that.
Well, I mean, what's interesting too, though, is up until 10 years ago, in 2013, 3 out of 10 people thought that addiction and mental illness were not curable. They didn't even think you could cure addiction. That's just 10 years ago.
Cure?
Right, like
You,
get through addiction. You know what I mean? Mental
oh,
illness and addiction they
well,
thought could not be cured at all. Like once you're an addict, you're always an addict. Once you have mental illness, you always have mental illness.
well, and that's a really tough discussion too, because like no matter how long you are in recovery, like and it's I really don't know what to believe with that because it's not a good thing to say that like, once an addict always an addict. That's like
Right.
it's like a disgusting actually way to look at it.
Exactly.
Like so it's the same as what people say that with people with cancer. Like once you're cancer, you're
Right. Like
always
once
a
you
cancer. Once
beat
you're
it,
a
you don't have it
diabetic,
anymore.
once you're a diabetic, you're always a diabetic.
That cancer's actually an interesting example because think about addiction. Like you use recovery, now you have this chance of relapse. You can get to a really, really good place, but people are going to argue that's always there.
They actually compare it to cancer. It goes in remission.
Well, right, it's the same thing. The cancer, you beat it, remission, but now it's still kind of lingering there and there's this chance. So that's actually a really good example because they both kind of act in the same way. But I think, unlike cancer, you can get to a place with substance that you don't want it around you, though, and that you can control and discipline
Yeah.
yourself out of those relapse situations. Coping, understanding yourself and how to handle situations, not letting stress and emotional stuff tear you apart.
Yeah.
That's, I think, what gets a lot of us there in the first place.
Yeah.
Emotional stuff's what got me there in the first place.
Oh, absolutely. That is the biggest thing of it is because we don't want to feel emotions.
If I had my emotions under control, I believe I would not have been an addict.
Yeah, me too.
not not an opioid addict, 100%, not 100%, but
Because
I can say
opiates
that
kill emotional pain. I think even more the physical
they
pain.
do. They do.
You
It's
know,
incredible how they kill emotional
and
pain.
it just gets frustrating when I see people I care about. They just want to just keep bearing those emotions.
But that's where the opiate, like the hydrocodone, Vicodin thing is weird because studies show that acetaminophen itself is a better painkiller
Yes.
than with Vicodin with hydrocodone.
That's where I get the whole big pharma and
But you're prescribing that and you're giving these people that like euphoria, that feel good on top of their pain, which I understand there's a level of pain that is needed somewhat. But
not in my
you
opinion. In
cannot.
my opinion, I know I don't give a shit what it is. I refuse. When I broke my collarbone, I knew I couldn't take any painkillers. I said, fuck that. Nope. Because I know for a fact that opioids I cannot take.
Right. So you don't think that there's any level of pain that an opioid should be prescribed?
Oh no, I'm just talking. No, I'm talking for myself. Like I cannot have any oxycodones. I cannot have
Right.
anything like that.
I'm talking about in general now though.
No, everybody's different.
What level is should we go from acetaminophen to actually having a euphoric prescription?
Uh,
You
well,
know.
put it this way: when my mother, got her for her cancer surgery, she got her lymph nodes and half her liver removed. They gave her 5 oxycodones. That was it. 5 milligram oxycodones.
Same with the neighbor. He was when he got back from the hospital. He was cut from stomach all over, cuts and stitches from all the surgeries and stuff. And I think they gave him like 6 or 9 or something too. They just don't. They don't give you very many right now. They're very very regulated, which is good.
It's good, but I mean that is, and you know what though? Because my mom is such a badass, man. Like she didn't even finish. I didn't think she took any of them, cause she knows she's seen what I went through.
Right. Yep. When my
But her lymph nodes and half her liver, like I was
mm,
like, But yeah, at least for myself, like no, there's no dental work. Yeah, I don't need it. I know, and you
yeah.
know.
When my stepdad was in the hospital for after the accident, he was requesting lower doses of the opioids too because he didn't want to have any addiction issues with it.
Good for
So
him,
yeah,
man.
he actually requested lower doses than what they were gonna give him because he he's seen what the kids what I have gone through and not necessarily his kid, other kid, but close people close to him. He's seen others go through it as well. So
Well, just watch the movie Dope Sick.
yeah,
The true story about, Purdue Pharma and the
right.
Oxycontin.
How do you feel though when people when it's blatantly that someone is making you feel like you shot up too? Like, does that bother you at all, or do you just kind of brush it off because you know it's part of the land of addiction?
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean,
like
I it doesn't really bother me, I guess, because those trolls.
right.
They what did they say about us? Oh, we sound like we're still shooting dope or whatever. Well,
Mm,
for starters, bud,
never
me
shot
and me
once.
and him have never actually shot. That wasn't our thing, so no.
And
But I had taken enough painkillers to at one time
yeah,
to make a elephant drool.
right. Well, it's like I said, people are really willing to come out in groups and start saying stuff.
Oh
They
yeah.
don't do it very much on. They don't want to be the lone ranger, but they
No,
want to be the one in the
and
middle of the group screaming
they
something.
don't even have real profiles either.
Right.
So keep hiding, coward. I don't
It's
care.
really crazy how it is, but
We're obviously doing something right because we're getting hate. So
I think that it does hinder some people though from getting help and being a part of the recovery and stuff because they don't want the feel that way. They don't want people assuming they shot up too. They don't want their story coming out. They don't want people to know. And they continue to try to use and hide it and go down this road instead of actually getting help when they should.
well, my best advice is whoever is don't let anybody else I know it's so much easier said than done, but don't let anybody else's opinion ever affect your life.
There
Like,
it is.
just don't, because the way I see it now, if someone's hating, that means we struck a nerve and we're doing something right.
Yeah, for
So bring
sure.
it on.
When people are,
And hey, if
yeah,
anybody that is from the town that is hiding behind a fake profile and all of that, I will respect you so much if you come say that to my face. And, we can handle it however we do from there, and I truly do. I will respect that if that is how they truly feel
yeah,
and they say who they are. But
yeah,
other than that, I really, truly pity anybody. And I mean this. Like, I truly, if they are that unhappy in their life, pray for them.
that they have to try to bring down others who are trying to do better or who want to have a discussion about certain things. But I mean, I really
Ain't gonna rain on
feel
my
it's
parade.
the feeling safe in a group thing. People are just so willing to spew whatever they want as long as they have people around that makes them feel safe.
Well, and I saw this at the clinic, like just relentlessly, is misery loves company.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And not just at the clinic, that's just in general.
Mm.
And people who are more interested in everybody else's business, you should pay attention to yourself and actually get ahead in life
Yeah.
before you're just constantly talking about everybody else's business that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, that is rough when people don't have much going on. Drum you up some business.
Yeah, some business.
Well, yeah, man. Is there anything else you want to add today?
Just happy holidays to everybody. Just recovery can happen, man.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody who's especially struggling right now, I know it's so hard, but you can hit us up anytime. We're always here. That's what this whole thing is for. Trust me, I don't know how I'm alive today. It's a blessing to say that. You know.
Oh, I'm very thankful to understand things the way I do. And even though I have some stomach issues and I'm struggling still with certain things, I'm glad to understand and be educated the way I am now because a few years ago, I did not know, too much about addiction and tapering and Suboxone, methadone, all that. I was just kind of going along and not educating myself properly.
Well, that's because you just got to quit.
Yeah.
Just quit.
Just quit.
I think, that's another thing we should have talked about is just quit. How many times has every ad heard that? Man, why didn't we think of that? Just quit. Yeah, so we'll just be completely sick for however long. If it was that simple,
and that's the real challenge is trying to educate people in a way that they can understand what the physical is like. It's not just
like the
marijuana, where it's a little mental. There's a lot of physical, and the physical symptoms are typically heavy, like the cramps that you get, the restless leg syndrome,
the insomnia,
vomiting, insomnia. There's multiple symptoms, and you're not talking about having one a day. You're talking about having 4, 5, 6 different symptoms at once that you're trying to cope with. And yeah, you made the choice to get there, but you also have to get through to get to recovery.
Yeah.
We're not all perfect. People are going to make mistakes. These drugs have been around for a long, long time. We're not the first people that have been here.
No, and they say 82 million Americans suffer from addiction. That's 82 million, and that's just the ones that they found out about.
And that's exactly what people don't understand too, is that is only the ones that they found out about. There's a lot more people out there.
Because I hid my addiction for as long as I possibly could.
And that's a big thing, I think, is don't be scared. Like you were saying, don't let other people hinder you from getting help or being in recovery or even putting yourself out there to help others. if you have gone through recovery, don't just go and hide and think that now people are going to judge you if you help out and everything. Put yourself out there and help out. Help somebody else, talk to somebody else in recovery. Give advice and help others get through it too.
Yeah, because I am always here to
The
help
best
anybody
way,
if they're willing to.
I'm all for anybody going into counseling and therapy, but truly to really understand that, to talk to people that have been through it. They're the ones who are really going to know what the feelings are like, what the mental, the physical, and the different ways things are going to happen to you and what you can kind of expect. Every experience is different, and we don't want to push our recovery onto somebody else, but we can
Nope.
share experiences with others and help them to understand what they might be able to expect.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I love it, man. And I mean that. We're always here.
for sure. But yeah, man, thanks for coming over again today. So, hope you have a good rest of your holidays and New Year's and everything.
Hey, you too, man. Thanks for the Christmas gift, man.
Yeah,
Tommy
man, for
Hilfiger.
sure. For
Our
sure.
birthday's coming up in
Yeah.
about 2 weeks.
Something
We had
like
the same
that.
birthday, so
Yep, just a year apart.
yep.
So, yeah, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Stay safe and make good choices for yourself and those around you.
Do your research.